Shooting it raw?
Yes. Shooting it raw. Hello, world. Well, this is episode 160, and here I am. Here I am. So today, this episode, we'll just go behind the curtain, I guess, a little bit. Just is this going to be a rant? Maybe a rant. Sure, why not? Okay, so like the podcast is all about, it's very positive and optimistic, and yeah, kind of like me, try to be, but of course, ups and downs, so like all human beings. And here I am trying to make the podcast work, and it's one of these funny things. It's like when I was doing shark rescue, I would put all of my effort. I was like, okay, I'm going to try to make this explode, succeed, be amazing. And as best as I could, I tried to make it work. And sometimes it would succeed. And most often it was like Sisyphus pushing that massive boulder up to the top of the hill just to have it roll down and do it again and again and again. Yeah. Yeah. So Albert Camus, right? He wrote, is it a short story or is it a short book? Or is it a long book? I don't think it's a long book. I don't think Camus is the kind of guy who wrote long books, but smart ones. So his thing, like the myth of Sisyphus, right? Essentially that life is absurd. This might be a heavy episode or a heavy musings. Yeah. How do we make sense of our lives when it's fundamentally absurd or tragic, really? Sort of like with my dog, right? So my dog Kafka. I never wanted Kafka. So it was my birthday, and we went for dinner on Lantau, and we stepped inside, and then in the restaurant, all these puppies running around and everything. And we already had two dogs. And then we're just like, oh, what's the story with these puppies? There were like 4 or 5 of them. And I said, well, we found like a couple of weeks earlier, and I remember seeing this story. It was pretty freaky. A couple of weeks earlier, they'd found a puppy with its front paws chopped off, right? Thrown in a stream or something. It was bleeding out. I mean, that's pretty full on. And so then when they looked into it, they tried to figure out like what happened. They found out that there was some woman. Maybe she was deranged. Maybe she was just out of it, or not. But supposedly was chopping the paws off of puppies. And the story goes for Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine, which is I don't know. I've never seen puppies for sale anywhere. Puppy paws. So I don't know how credible that is. But they rescued this litter of puppies off this woman because she clearly had them and probably wasn't giving the vibe of being a very caring and nurturing person. And so here were these puppies that they were trying to home. And then, Delian's like, oh, come on, look at that one, the white and black one. He's so cute. And he was so cute and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, but we don't need another puppy. I have 2 dogs, not another one. And I said, come on. And I said, no. And for 1 or 2 weeks, I was like, no. And in the end, I said, okay, let's go back. If he's still there, yeah, maybe. And yeah, so we ended up adopting him. We ended up calling him Kafka. So it was because at the time we were reading Haruki Murakami's Kafka on the Shore. And Murakami refers to Kafka, Franz Kafka. But I mean, if we were actually naming a dog after a Franz Kafka inspired book, it would probably be Joseph K. or something. Anyways, je digresse. So we adopt Kafka, and that's a tragedy, really, of dogs in a way, because we see them as puppies. It's so cute. And then they get older, and we see their timeline, right? Their whole trajectory from puppy to older. And he lived like 17 years, which is very old for a dog. Like, he was an old dog. And for 6 months, a year, failing health, There was this dread, really, because there was the sadness, the real, yeah, the tragedy of having to say goodbye, of knowing that he was going to go. And then the morning, when we had decided we're going to euthanize him, I woke up with this feeling of happiness, really, and gratitude, because it's like we'd given him the best life, and he was the best dog. And that was a notification. Well timed. Thank you, universe. We gave him the best life, and he was the best dog. He was always game. He was always game. Such a good dog. And then when we put him down, I was just like, thank you. This real sense of gratitude. And how does that have to do with the podcast? I have no idea. But I'm trying to get the podcast to grow. And some people just have that magic, right? That X factor, I guess, in terms of the show that they made, which for whatever reason, people just dial into the right level of tenacity and doggedness and persistence and stamina and but luck, also luck, to kind of hit it big, to be successful. So what do I do? Like every week, I think who would be an interesting person to talk to, and then I reach out to them, and I keep doing it, and sometimes I get great referrals, and sometimes really amazing connections, and sometimes it's like a happy accident where the universe says, "Okay, now you're going to talk to this person." Great. So last week I had Ash Beckham, and I'm recording from my house. I don't have a studio, and certainly the ups and downs of the past, few years with the pandemic, and then the lack of work, and then sort of personal challenges with anxiety and dealing with those ups and downs. So yeah, so it's always a bit of it's part of the jeopardy, I guess, the shooting it raw jeopardy of I don't know what's going to happen. So I'm recording with Ash Beckham, and she's being a really great sport about the whole thing. But all these interruptions and the earbuds, that people love and all this stuff, but they're crap for recording across the Pacific Ocean or whatever, because there's lots of static and all this stuff. So yeah, I thought it was a really good episode, but it kind of fell on my face a little bit, and yeah, that just is what it is. Okay, hopefully she isn't. I mean, there are many people who think I'm a clown. Sure, I can be quite clownish, but hopefully she doesn't really feel like, oh my god, what a waste. Those are an hour and a half I'll never get back again. Shit happens. But I'm trying to get the podcast to get off the ground. At least, start to fly a little bit. And there have been some successes, obviously, but hardly the huge success I wish it could be. And so then the question is, well, what's in it for me? Like, why do I want the podcast to really explode? Well, to be completely blunt and honest, that'd be great to have the recognition and all that stuff. Of course, of course that'd be nice. But ultimately, what it is I get to sit with people and say, how do you make sense of the world? How do you find authentic connection or authentic meaning, or at a deeper level of life? Because I guess it's kind of, maybe some people don't have the hang up as big as I have it, but it's a bit of my hang up, like, how do we make every second count? And yeah, it'd be great to have, many guests from around the world and all this stuff, which I'm doing anyways. So to a certain extent, that's working out really well, even if the guests aren't the A-list celebrities or whatever. I mean, yeah, I really kind of wish I had Stephen Hawking on the podcast, but what are you going to do? Why do I keep picking on I'm not picking on Stephen Hawking. I mean, he's obviously very smart, but I like Stephen Hawking. But yeah, so I thought, okay, well, how can we do this? So I said, you know what, universe, you tell me, right? So the past few months have been really humbling kick in the face, where the universe says, whatever you think you can do is a nice little fallacy, or it's a nice delusion, maybe. Okay, some people have God. I have the delusion of my own agency. Yeah. So then I said, okay, you know what? Fuck it. I'll just make a poll and say, okay, well, of these four options, or was it five? What should I do? Yeah, it would have been nice to have larger numbers. I mean, this is the sample size is still a little small. It's only about maybe 20 people so far. Ideally, I'd have at least 50 to have a representative or more accurate sense. So far, the universe is saying, okay, maybe double up, right? So do a joint sort of fundraising campaign where I give half of the proceeds that I get for the podcast to the Hong Kong Shark Foundation. Sweet. Okay. So stay tuned. That will happen. And yeah, so what would I do with the funds? Well, essentially, the funds go straight into promoting the podcast, because it's really weird. Like I every once in a while, I get a guest who'll drop in like $100, 100 US, or 700 or 800 Hong Kong, or 1,000 Hong Kong, and the numbers will go up, right? So instead of, say, 100 or 200 a month, it'll go up to, say, I don't know, 10,000, just from like basically you pay for the exposure. Okay, that's the world we live in. But every once in a while, like with Kim McCoy, it's like it shot up to like 70,000. It was just immense, same amount of money, but and I was like, well, why is that? And it was because of cats. Cats rule the internet. Yeah, this is where my head is at. Yeah, so stay tuned. A funding drive is going to happen soon, with half to Shooting It Raw to promote the podcast and hopefully get more people to listen and inspired. So feel free and help and share and all that stuff. And half will go to the Hong Kong Shark Foundation, because Andrea Ritchie, who is also on the podcast, is doing great work to help raise awareness of marine conservation, namely by ending the shark trade. Because, well, I can go on about that. Yeah, okay, so that's it for this week. Have a great week. Make every second count. I don't know if I'm just talking to myself, but to you, oh beloved listener, a big hug, and imagine me licking your forehead. Ew, gross. Okay, bye.
Shooting it raw?
Yes, shooting it raw.